You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 28. I'm your boy Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Before we bring on today's guest, we got something to talk about, good people. We're going to call today Support Local Business Sunday, all right? Last week we had Support Your Own Sunday, but this week Support Local Business Sunday. Shout out to Vintage Year over there in Old Cloverdale, around the street from the Alabama State University. My wife and I had a chance to go out there on last week and have brunch. An amazing experience, great food, great vibe. We both had the French toast off the chain. We had the Mediterranean omelet, fi. We had the breakfast potatoes, amazing. And we had purple grits. I wasn't sure about the purple grits when I saw them, but hey, they was off the chain. Cheese grits at that. Hey, don't knock it until you try it. Exposure is everything. Shout out to Old Cloverdale. Shout out to Vintage Year. That was a great experience. If you're looking for a brunch spot to pull up on Sunday after church, there it is. All right, on with today's show. Today's guest, she is the founder and owner of EdTech Academy. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure you all will be inspired by her story. Let's give a warm Gumptown round of applause for Kim Bell. Kim, how's it going?
All is well. How have you been?
All is well on my end. First things first, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me for a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Yes, ma'am. So before we talk about the Academy, let's talk a little bit about you, your background, where you from, and how you got to where you are now.
My name is Kimberly Bell. I am from Lowndes County. Shout out to the 4-5. Graduated from Central High School in Haynesville. Then I attended Alabama State University, where I got my degree in early childhood education, and later got my degree in educational administration. I taught for 15 years, and then I decided that I wanted to get out of the classroom, still stay aligned with my educational goals, the goals that I had for wanting to teach, but just in a different way. And so during testing season, I kind of prayed for a vision, like, God, show me how I can get out of this classroom. And here we are today.
What a story. Awesome story. So what year you finished up at the Alabama State University?
Absolutely. I finished with my master's in 2008.
Okay.
Graduated in 2008. Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. No, that's a great story. And I definitely looking forward to hearing more about the Academy. Let's talk about the Academy. What exactly what you got going on over there at EdTech Academy?
So EdTech Academy was founded basically because I just noticed that a lot of, how can I say this? That our educational system doesn't really focus on certain groups of students. If you're poor and you're not privileged, then you don't always get access to everything that's available. So I kind of created EdTech as a way to close that gap, so to speak. And so what we do is I go into schools and I teach STEM-based lessons. So STEM represents science, technology, engineering, and math. Mm-hmm. And it's basically about exposing students to STEM who may not have an opportunity to be exposed to it. Just because I know that from firsthand experience that teachers have a lot on their plate. It may be something that is supposed to be taught and addressed in the curriculum, but it doesn't always happen. And so that's where we come in.
Awesome. Y'all doing some great stuff. And yeah, I heard you earlier, you're choosing your words carefully, and I didn't want to cut you off, but yeah, you can be blunt and honest about who we're targeting. Like, it sounds like you created this academy for us because we are
Yes.
marginalized and we don't get exposed to STEM at the level that we should. So now I appreciate you for recognizing that and starting that academy for us because we definitely did exposure. STEM is where it's at, honestly.
Yes. And there are so many things, there are so many avenues where you can go if you're exposed to STEM. I mean, my background is education. So when I went into like my last 5 years, I taught in Ottawa County. So I was hired as a third grade science and math teacher. And I was excited because we had a science lab. It was at a K-12 school. So we had a science lab. And I'm like a nerd. So I like to do professional development. Mm-hmm. And I started learning more about STEM, which led to me learning more about computer programming and introducing that to our students. And in doing so, the shift in what happened in our classroom, it was just amazing. Like, there was a huge difference in the student performance, their engagement, their excitement, and it was just an awesome experience.
That's great. And while we're being completely honest, I'm a product of the Montgomery public school system, and you coming from Lowndes County, so we pretty much fall under the same umbrella. Education is boring, so I'm glad you. I mean, like the curriculums, yes, and like these kids are getting exposed to the same old outdated stuff. So I'm glad that you created this academy to basically sound like you're keeping their interest. That's what these kids need.
Yes. Absolutely. And that's what I learned, that bored students don't learn. You know, we just cannot. And I taught in Lowndes County, Montgomery County, my last 5 years in Ottawa County. And across the board, you know, it's this structure of you want all of the students sitting down, you know, sitting in desks, writing stuff off the board. And some teachers, I won't lie, there are some teachers who keep their classes engaged. But it's not done across the board, you know. And if the students are bored, they're just not going to learn. I mean, you've sat through Zoom meetings, I'm sure, in the last year or so that were 2 hours, and I struggle through them. So, you know, how can you expect a child who has much less of an attention span to stay focused if you're reading something to them or expecting them to read for long periods of time? It's just boring. So my goal is engagement, and I like to think that my students are having so much fun that they don't even realize they're learning.
And that's a great way of incorporating that education, like make it fun, exciting, because quite frankly, you know, you have at least when I was coming up through the education system and stuff, like it was always a notion. You had a group of kids where they would say, oh, they're ADHD, they're hyperactive, they won't sit still. They were bored. I think a lot of those kids were bored. And quite frankly, a lot of kids got misdiagnosed. So I'm glad that these type of academies like EdTech Academy exist, because quite frankly, these kids are smart. They're just not engaged. They're just not interested. So sounds like you're tapping into that part of their brain that's keeping them engaged. So that's awesome. And that's some great EdTech Academy is doing some great things. So let's talk about, whenever I have entrepreneurs on the platform like yourself, I like to talk about aha moment, action, and audacity. So what was the aha moment that inspired you to actually start the academy?
Man, I got started because, you know, during testing season, let me say this, I've never wanted to work for anybody ever. So I've been a little side hustler, just doing all kind of little things on the side, before, during, and after teaching. But my aha moment when I realized that I wanted to start EdTech was during standardized testing season. And, you know, it was toward the end of testing, and the students, one of my students, she tested and she didn't make the mark that was required by the state, but she had grown so much over the course of, you know, the school year. And she was just in tears saying, I'm dumb, you know, and that just broke my heart, because I'm trying to explain to an 8-year-old that you made so much growth, even though you didn't meet the state standard, you improved tremendously. Mm-hmm. But it was just hard for her to understand that. And in that moment, I kind of realized that I wanted to do something differently so the students weren't feeling so pressured to meet a state standard or a certain standard, because everybody is different. And I wanted to create something that would benefit everyone and their uniqueness. You know, whatever your strength is. You know, I've had students who are great readers, but they aren't great artists. Mm-hmm. You know, some are great in math, but another one can put something together easily, you know. Right. And so I wanted to create something that would kind of teach toward your strengths. What are your interests? What do you enjoy doing? Because if you enjoy doing something, you're gonna not struggle to learn about that thing. And I hope I answered the question, because I'll go off on
that. That was a powerful aha moment, and hats off to you for speaking life into the 8-year-old, because she could have easily became distraught and really allow that to ruin her confidence. So that was good that you stepped in and you let her know, hey, look where you've improved and look how far you've come. So no, that's great stuff. And no, that's a
and that wasn't just for that one student. That was for all of my students, you know, because our students are under a lot of pressure to perform the same way the teachers are.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to help, you know, to make a child understand that even though you didn't make an A, you still did great if you made a C, you know, because we aren't all at the same place. Did you improve? And I think, you know, that's just how education should be done. And so EdTech Academy was simply a way for me to teach my way. Just do something differently.
That's awesome. And that's great that you had the awareness to see that, hey, there's a change that needs to be made. I'll be the change that I want to see. And that's really where it starts, where you identify a problem, a need that needs to be filled, and you go out there and you fill that need, which transitions right into the action portion. How long after that aha moment during that testing season did you actually take action towards starting the academy?
So I started in 2019. I think that was maybe a year later. Mm-hmm. I spent a year kind of prepping, planning, buying the equipment that I would need to take into the schools, getting the courses and everything down. And I started in 2019 with summer camp. Mm-hmm. And the summer camp did well. And I turned in my resignation just based off of faith. I had kind of paid up my bills, mm-hmm. and I knew I wanted to leave. But you know how you just have that fear and uncertainty, like, do I really want to do this? You know, right. Do I want to leave teaching? Because, you know, it's the stability.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I just stepped out on faith, and everything has been okay since.
Right. And to be honest with you, I just full transparent, myself and a lot of other people are struggling with that, leaving the 9-to-5 safety net. So hats off to you for that, for having enough courage to step away from that, because that stability is, I mean, you know, that check coming twice a month or once a month. So you stepped out there on faith. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. It is not for the faint of heart, because there have been some times when I'm like, oh God, what did I do? But at the same time, you know, everything, I've honestly just been blessed. I've been very blessed. It's just been a blessing, you know, the support that I've received from just multiple places that has just been surprising. Like, for real. And then what happened? So I opened in 2019, mm-hmm. and then the pandemic happened. So, you know, I really was like, I can't go into the schools anymore.
Right.
But, you know, change kind of forces you to shift and pivot. And that's where I am now. Because I'm a one-woman show. So I was going into schools. I was going into homeschool co-ops. Mm-hmm. And what I'm doing now is I'm revamping and I'm working on online courses. So if the parents want something different for their children after school or whenever, it's at their own pace. But that's what I'm working on now. The online courses. So you can just pay and download and learn whenever and however you feel, as much as you feel.
Yes, ma'am. That's where it's at. I mean, the virtual having to pivot during this pandemic, a lot of businesses have had to do that, and it sounds like you're doing that as well. So it's all about making those adjustments and like you were just saying, change. It definitely forces you to pivot. Like you have to.
Yes.
You may not be
And
ready for
not
that
working for
change.
someone definitely forces you to wake up early in the morning and stay up all night. Like, okay, I got to get it done. No choice.
But aside from before I get into the audacity portion, so just describe that feeling. Like, what's that like? Waking up every day knowing that you are in complete control of your income and things of that nature. Like, describe that freedom of entrepreneurship.
Oh man, it feels very empowering because nobody can fire me,
Right.
But it's also pressure, it's freedom, it's pressure, it's a lot of different things and emotions. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited to wake up every morning. I'm excited to help people. I'm excited to serve. It's an amazing feeling, just to say I have my own and to be able to leave a legacy behind for my daughter and my grandson.
That is powerful. And always keep that at the forefront of your mind whenever you get discouraged. Hey, I created something. I started something. You stepped out there and did something that most people won't. Like you left the nest, you left the safety nets. And so that's something that you can always just keep in the back of your mind whenever times get hard. Just remember, hey, you did what a lot of people talk about doing, but you actually did it. So hats off to you for having that.
Thank you.
No problem. Which basically is going to transition right into my last portion, audacity. It takes courage to step out there and start your own. Who or what gave Kim Bell the audacity to really step out there on faith?
Man, listen, I feel God.
Right.
I just feel like, I'm not a Bible person, but there is a Bible verse that says something like your gifts will make room for you.
Yes.
And that's exactly what has happened. I love teaching. I love motivating. I love tech. So everything just combined, and God gave me the audacity to just like, girl, jump, and that's what I did.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, that is fine. That's a great answer. The answer is fine with me because like that's all you need. Honestly, all you need is God. I mean,
yeah.
A lot of times, and the reason I asked that question a lot of times because it's just always interesting to hear people talk about their influences, and I believe this is the first time I've heard somebody say God, and like really, that's all you need. Like, hey, you don't. It's weird because we get certain like instinctively we know what we're called to do. We ignore it sometimes. I hope that makes sense. Like
that fear.
Yeah, like you'd be like God talking to you, like just step out there. I'll carry you the rest of the way. A lot of times that fear do get in our mind.
Yeah, fear is one of the biggest challenges that I face. It's not
Likewise.
Customers, because I feel like if you have a great product or service, people will come to you. But what it is it's me most of the time getting in my own way, saying, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. What if they, and it's the negative impact of yourself. And so that's something I'm working on. That's one of the reasons I reached out to you, because I'm like, I have to push past the fear if I want my business to grow. And, beyond fear is comfort. The thing that you fear most, once you do it and do it again and do it again, you'll get more comfortable doing it. And so that's what I'm working on. just getting out of my own head, growing EdTech Academy, giving the people what they need and the students what they need. Yep.
Yes, ma'am. And you preaching to the choir, talking about that fear, because nobody talks us out of things the way we do ourselves. So I appreciate you for reaching out to me. And yeah, whenever, and I enjoy having these conversations, especially people especially people from Montgomery, especially people that went, especially people. I started this platform for us. I mean, I'll be transparent. I'm not against no other groups, but I believe we needed the voice. Like that's why,
right.
And I had my own fear when it came down to starting the podcast, because like you just said, like, will I do it right? And I just kind of had to make up in my mind, and sound like you did the same thing with the academy. Who cares if I do it right? I just got to do something, and it'll play out the way it needs to.
Exactly. It will all play out at the way it's supposed to. And I'm glad you started it, because we do need something. And as you know, people of color, we do tend to question ourselves when other people, you see them pushing stuff out, is you like, this is some trash, you know. What gave them the audacity? But you know, they're doing it, but we're not. And so hats off to you for starting the platform. And I pray that it is blessed beyond measure, you know, and that you reach whatever goal you have set for yourself.
And I appreciate those words. And back to EdTech Academy. So you've done some great things so far, and you're going to do great things. Let's talk about vision. What are your long-term and short-term goals for the Academy?
So my short-term goal is to just get the platform, to have all of the courses uploaded in a timely manner. You know, my goal is to have the courses available by the summer. So when students are out of school and their parents are looking for something for them to do, you know, they can log on to EdTech Academy and get a lesson on drones, or how to create an app, or starting their YouTube channel, you know, stuff that kids want to do. They're on their phones all the time anyway. So, you know, give them a purposeful use of their cell phones and tablets and Chromebooks or whatever. That's the long-term, the short-term goal is to have the courses up by the summer. But my long-term goal is to be a part of education, not just in Alabama, but across all the states. I want to be able to reach students and families all over who need something extra, and hopefully they'll find it with EdTech Academy.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Great short-term and long-term goals, and looking forward to all those things coming to fruition for you. Let's transition to the $1 million question. So I started this podcast to share light on the greatness that come from Montgomery or through Montgomery, whether that be just being here for a period of time, significant period of your life, college. So let's talk about what does the Gump mean to you? How describe the impact Montgomery has had on your evolution as a mother, entrepreneur, and educator?
Oh man, Montgomery, it has, you know, it's home. It's where my family, friends, my college friends, where I was educated, where I've taught, it's become a part of me. And the people in Montgomery have embraced myself and my vision. I've met some amazing people in business, through networking, who have just wanted to help. So Montgomery has been everything, you know. I couldn't imagine doing this anywhere else.
That's great. And I'm glad you said that at the very end, because a lot of times, and I'm getting off on a tangent, a lot of times we have people from here, we're so gifted, and we want to run to Atlanta or other cities to you know, share our gifts. And I appreciate you for starting it here in your hometown, because you could have easily ran off to a bigger city. And a lot of times people I know who've left Montgomery, I don't knock anybody hustle, but I'm like, man, you had that greatness in you already. You didn't have to go to Atlanta to find it. You've been had it.
And we have, I know that there are students here in Montgomery who are just who have an amazing future ahead of them. And why not invest in their futures? Stay here and pour into the students that are here, the
Yes,
people
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I agree. The students definitely are the future, and they definitely need that engaging education that you're offering with the academy. So that's good stuff. How can the people connect with you, Kim? What are your social media handles? Facebook.
So my social
IG?
media, it's on IG is EdTech Academy, Facebook EdTech Academy, TikTok EdTech Academy. It's the same across the board. If they would like to email me, it's info@edtechacademy.org. My website is edtechacademy.org.
Awesome. Too easy. And of course, I'll put all of this in the description of the episode. Hey, Kim, thanks again for the conversation. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumtown Podcast. We gone, but before we leave, remember, be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Gone. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.